You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to our news. The headlines. CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI urges Zambians to denounce religionalism when voting in honor of KK. Government debt stock negatively affecting business in Zambia reveals a central bank governor. The women's movement mourn Chief Justice Irene MAMBILIMA. In international news, South Africa in talks to welcome vaccine technology transfer center. And in sports news, fast suspends KASHIKISHI Warriors. For the details, join me shortly after this break.
Zambia has embarked on an economic journey for individual financial emancipation, empowering its citizens through land acquisition and developing the nation through agriculture. This time, Zambians are coming together, taking it upon themselves with the help of government to develop this great nation by taking individual responsibility and ownership of this great nation. The economic revolution has started. There are thousands of Zambians with a can-do mindset who are resolute, unstoppable, full of confidence and conviction that Zambia's set time of favor for development is now. Don't be left out. This could be the time you have been waiting for. Camnet Television, in conjunction with the United Agrivision Consultancy Limited, will be hosting a national conference on becoming a millionaire through agriculture. Date 1st October and 2nd October 2021. Charges 750 kwacha per person per day, that includes lunch. A limited number of participants through Zoom have also been reserved. You can also be part of the conference from the comfort of your home by registering online via Zoom, joining the people who were born for greatness. Charges for participation via Zoom are only 300 kwacha per person. Time 0730 hours to 17 hours. Registration and confirmation of attendance will take place on the 29th of September 2021. Time 14 hours to 17 hours. Venue the Healing Word Ministries International, the home of Camnet Television in Apex Hill, Kabulonga Road, Lusaka.
With the details, my name is Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga. The Non-Governmental Gender Organizing Coordinating Council (NGOCC) is saddened by the passing of Chief Justice Irene MAMBILIMA. NGOCC Board Chairperson Mary Mulenga says the death of Justice MAMBILIMA has robbed the nation of a talented woman who contributed heavily to the country's legal system. Mrs. Mulenga notes that as a lawyer, Ms. MAMBILIMA acquitted herself through her distinguished service to the nation, which saw her rise to the apex of the legal profession. She has further described Justice MAMBILIMA as a mentor and an inspiration to a lot of young women through her distinguished leadership and an icon of transformative leadership of integrity.
The death of Justice MAMBILIMA has without doubt yet again robbed the nation of a talented woman who contributed heavily to the country's legal jurisprudence. As a lawyer, Ms. MAMBILIMA acquitted herself through her distinguished service to the nation, which saw her rise to the apex of the legal profession. Justice MAMBILIMA had over the years been a mentor and an inspiration to a lot of young women, and through her distinguished leadership, she was an icon of transformative leadership of integrity. As we mourn this great woman, we urge other leaders in general and young women in particular to emulate this illustrious woman whose selflessness and determination was there for all to see. She proved in many ways that with focus and resilience, women can break through patriarchal barriers at all levels.
Deputy Justice Michael Msonda says the are no better ways of describing how good the late Chief Justice Irene Mambilima was, because she was a person loved by many. Justice Musonda, who spoke to the media shortly after opening a book of condolences at the Supreme Court in honor of late Justice Mambilima, disclosed that she was an exceptional human being, a champion of good governance and democracy. And the Law Association of Zambia, last President Abiud Shonga, says Justice Mambilima was a distinguished judge who united members of the judiciary and the legal fraternity. More in this report.
She has been described as a pillar of justice and rule of law. Late Chief Justice Irene Chewa Mambilima, who died on the 20th of June 2021 in Egypt, Cairo, where she went for national duties, was Zambia's first female Chief Justice. At the age of 69, the late had accomplished a lot and now described by many as a champion of good governance and democracy. Deputy Chief Justice Michael Musonda says Chief Justice Mambilima has received international acclaim for her leadership and character.
I don't want to show emotion and breakdown, because I worked closely with her and I knew that it is difficult to have a human being like her. I used to ask her, and I used to call her perfect, that you are actually Jesus. And that's what I used to call her. I said, my lady, I don't think this is human. You are, so she was everything you cannot imagine or think of. And so to think that her family, and she shared some of these things in terms of her family, and not just at home, but the bigger extended family.
The Deputy Justice, who spoke to journalists shortly after opening a book of condolences at the Supreme Court in honor of late Justice Mambilima, says she was the longest-serving judge with a true legendary figure.
Our plane flew out of the country to go and join the people, our colleagues on the ground in Cairo, who have been managing processes over there. And so we do expect that our colleagues in Cairo must be in the final stages of completing the formalities associated with this sort of task of having to bring the remains of our Chief Justice into the country.
In Law Association of Zambia, President says Justice Mambilima was a distinguished judge who united members of the judiciary and legal fraternity.
There's a long string of attributes that came with this magnificent woman. I don't know how to put them in priority, but humility. When you talked to her, it didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter whether you held office. It didn't matter that you came with a rank. All she saw was a fellow lawyer. She saw a lawyer and she imbued that sense of respect. You respected her just by the way that she carried herself.
Prior to her last position, Justice Mambilima served as Deputy Chief Justice from 2008 to 2015. Justice Mambilima served in various positions in the judiciary since she first joined as a commissioner of the High Court in 1985. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The body of the late former Inspector General of Police, Ephraim Mateo, has arrived in Northwestern Province, where he will be put to rest. Mr. Mateo died last Thursday in Lusaka's Minus Soko Hospital after a short illness. Mark Kalemba, a family representative, says Mr. Mateo will be buried in Ngwezi village on Wednesday, the 23rd of June 2021. Mr. Kalemba has since thanked respect government and everyone who rendered help during the mourning period. Meanwhile, the late Mateo has been described as a gallant soldier by the Swaka Yabakaunde chairman Goodson Sasakua.
A grantee-man of all seasons. Ephraim Mateo was above anything else. He was our member of Musakwa from time immemorial. He is a traditionalist. He was a traditionalist. We have lost a pillar for Musakwa. We have lost a pillar for the entire family.
Neamewa ne Mrs. Kapijimpanga ne umo utarapa bya kisemwa mu Musakwa mwanekine twazira na buranda bukatampe.
The Leadership Movement President, Dr. Richard Silumbe, says he will remember Zambia's founding father, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, as a leader who identified and promoted young leadership regardless of one's origins. Speaking when he visited the funeral house Tuesday morning, Dr. Silumba says during Dr. Kaunda's 27-year rule, the United National Independence Party UNIP leadership gave key roles to young people such as former Foreign Affairs Minister Vernon Mwanga and former Prime Minister, the late Kebi Msokotwane, to name a few. He adds that Dr. Kaunda's economic and social transformation plans towards national building cannot match any of the successful governments. He added that the late Republican president will be remembered for fighting corruption in such a way that he lived and preserved the natural resources for the coming generation.
Our founding father was passed on. He has really impacted on our lives as young people and as leadership movement at large, because Kenneth Kaunda was a leader who identified the energy of the youth. His first cabinet comprised young people as young as 21 years, 20 years old in governance. And many of the directorates were headed by young people as young as 19 years. So this shows that this is a kind of leader who understood that only the energy of the youth can bring out the fruits that the country needs. This is why when we compare the first National Development Plan to any of these plans that we have seen, it outmatches all these other plans, because he had to use the energy of the young people. And this is the reason why we had the University of Zambia being built in the first National Development Plan. We had the MIDDAY projects like the Tazara rail line and so many other programs that President Kenneth Kaunda did. So to us young people, he inspires us because he tells us that the future of this country only depends on how we make use of the young people, because it's the young people who have the energy who should be put to work for us to achieve whatever development that we can hope for in this country.
Former National Democratic Congress NDC Deputy National Youth Chairperson Gilbert Musonda, who defected to the Democratic Party, has with immediate effect rejoined the NDC. Addressing the media Tuesday, Mr. Musonda has since withdrawn from the Pulungu constituency parliamentary race on the Democratic Party ticket. He says his decision follows deep reflection, consultations and advice, hence rejoining NDC led by the Joseph Akafumba squad. Mr. Musonda has since pledged to support the United Party for National Development Alliance, aspiring Member of Parliament for Pulungu, and the Alliance President Hakainde Hichilema in the August 12th general elections.
Hereby announces my withdrawal of my parliamentary candidature for the Pulungu constituency. As you may be aware, I have been a member of the National Democratic Congress, but owing to the confusion that our dear party experienced, I was forced to stand as Pulungu MP on the Democratic Party ticket. I take this opportunity to apologize to my father and leader. My father, please find it in your heart to forgive me. Tulibantu tulaluba. Akula sani kwa. Having said that, I wish to state that I will channel my energy in supporting the UPND Alliance candidate in Pulungu, who is my brother and friend Leonard Mbao, as well as President Hakainde Hichilema.
Opposition Democratic Party DP aspiring candidate for Chipata Central constituency in Eastern Province, Daton Njovu, has charged that the decision to take round the remains of the late Republican President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda around the 10 provinces is political. Mr. Njovu says Dr. Kaunda's remains are more popular than most living politicians, especially those from the ruling party. Hence the move for the ruling party to take his remains to all provinces to get sympathy from citizens. He says no one can manage or control the crowds that would follow the casket of Dr. Kaunda when made to go round the 10 provinces of Zambia, and it would increase chances of transmitting COVID-19 amongst the people coming to pay their last respect. Mr. Njovu notes that Dr. Kaunda, by his nature, was a crowd puller and certainly uncontrollable masses that had no chance of seeing the founding father while he was alive will take the opportunity to view his body without adhering to public health measures.
As a Democratic Party in Eastern Province, we wish to challenge Dr. Malama, the current Health Permanent Secretary, who has been giving out figures regarding the COVID cases and the number of deaths that we're experiencing as a country relating to the same. We want him to give guidance on whether it is right for the government of the PF to take to the 10 provinces the remains of Super Ken in order for people to have a glimpse of his casket, because it is defeating the purpose as to why we are fighting COVID. Dr. Malama should be able to guide government, as well as Dr. Miti, the Cabinet Secretary.
Various political parties took turns in signing the Book of Condolences set up for the late First Republican President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda at his residence in Lusaka. Among them are the Movement for Democratic Change Vice President Leonard Hikaumba, who eulogized Dr. Kaunda, describing him as a man whose legacy will live on. Mr. Hikaumba has cited the principle of humanism, which plays placed a human being above anything else, making it a binding source of the nation. And speaking on the sidelines, MDC Media Director Thabo Kawana encouraged members of the UPND Alliance to go out there and canvass for votes in a peaceful manner as one Zambia, one nation, in line with what the founding father fought for.
The philosophy of humanism. He propounded and insisted that we should follow the principles of humanism. And humanism was nothing but a principle or a philosophy which placed the human being above everything else. And to that end, it meant that whatever activities, whatever programs the country was engaged in, the ultimate was to see how such activities, such programs would benefit the human being.
Now, the instruction that has come from President IRENE is very clear. It is not necessary to go out there and canvass for votes, because the vote is already decided. The people of Zambia have already decided they are changing government and they are ushering in the UPND alliance. The canvassing, we are now going out to the country with an instruction from our leaders, is to go and canvass for love, canvass for peace, and canvass for no violence, to ensure that we honor President Kaunda and we ensure that we hold an election in an environment that is not only free and fair, but is free of violence. An environment that late President Kaunda himself would have loved to see. And that is what the UPND and its alliance partners are going out there to do, to go and ensure that we campaign for peace, we campaign for unity, we campaign for love as one Zambia, one nation.
Meanwhile, Patriotic Front member CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI has praised the foundation that was laid by Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. He says Dr. Kaunda managed to unite the country without looking at regions during voting. And Party of National Unity President Hivi Hamududu says Dr. Kaunda is the foundation of Zambia's history and nothing can be told without making mention of his name. He says President Kaunda created an equitable ladder for many, describing it as a fundamental lesson he has left.
It is not easy to unite an African country. The late President Kenneth David Puchiza Kaunda managed to unite all the 73 tribes under one motto of one Zambia, one nation. During unique time, we didn't look at regions when voting. We all looked at the fact that there was an election in Zambia. Today, regionalism in voting, tribalism in voting has started showing its ugly face on the Zambian political scene. And this must be fought with the vigor that it deserves. Because if we are not careful, we can end up the Kenyan way, where tribalism is the order of the day when it comes to elections. Every Zambian in every corner must elect leaders based on their ability to perform, not based on the fact that this one comes from here. Today we are seeing statements of people saying we don't have to worry about campaigning in a particular area because the people from here will vote their own.
It's very gratifying that by the time Dr. Kaunda left power, the mission of decolonization of Africa was literally completed. except maybe one grey area, maybe in North Africa. By the time he was leaving, Namibia was free, Zimbabwe was free, Mozambique was free, Angola was free, and we had broken the back of apartheid, that monster. By 1990, Mandela was out and apartheid was outlawed. What was remaining just was the elections of 1994. So Dr. Kaunda had managed to accomplish his mission, especially the liberation struggle. And this is a challenge to us upcoming politicians. Up to now, no president in this country, no president has beaten the record of Kaunda. It's a challenge to us who want to be presidents, that within a period of less than 30 years, they won the most difficult war of liberation heroically.
We take our first set of commercials. To stay with us as we still have more interesting stories lined up for you.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
At Master Signs, our services range from outdoor, indoor signage such as billboards, banners, 3D light boxes, pylons and neon signs. We are located at plot number 397A, Makeni Road, Lusaka, at Oryx Filling Station. For more details, call us on +260 967 100 090 or +260 966 999 981, or better still, email us at infomastersign@gmail.com. Master Sign, we will make it shine.
President Edgar Chagwa Lungu and the Patriotic Front have transformed the transportation sector by facilitating the construction of bus stations around the country. Vote for Edgar Chagwa Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
Every day for me means hard work. Going to sell my goods at the local market. To get more customers, I have my secret. Oracle Pure Glycerin. It's soft, smooth, and keeps my skin perfect. And my customers know it. Thank you, Oracle, for my perfect skin.
Zambia has embarked on an economic journey for individual financial emancipation, empowering its citizens through land acquisition and developing the nation through agriculture. This time, Zambians are coming together, taking it upon themselves with the help of government to develop this great nation by taking individual responsibility and ownership of this great nation. The economic revolution has started. There are thousands of Zambians with a can-do mindset who are resolute, unstoppable, full of confidence and conviction that Zambia's set time of favor for development is now. Don't be left out. This could be the time you have been waiting for. Camnet Television, in conjunction with the United Agrivision Consultancy Limited, will be hosting a national conference on becoming a millionaire through agriculture. Date 1st October and 2nd October 2021. Charges 750 kwacha per person per day, that includes lunch. A limited number of participants through Zoom have also been reserved. You can also be part of the conference from the comfort of your home by registering online via Zoom, joining the people who were born for greatness. Charges for participation via Zoom are only 300 kwacha per person. Time 0730 hours to 17 hours. Registration and confirmation of attendance will take place on the 29th of September 2021. Time 14 hours to 17 hours. Venue the Healing Word Ministries International, the home of Camnet Television in Apex Hill, Kabulonga Road, Lusaka.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Technical Services Dr. Kennedy Malama has lamented over the continued non-adherence of COVID-19 guidelines by some members of the public. Speaking during the COVID-19 update, Dr. Malama states that people must continue to observe the rules each time, looking at the high numbers of COVID-19 cases the country keeps recording. In the last 24 hours, Zambia has recorded 3,028 new COVID-19 cases with 53 deaths. Dr. Malama disclosed that the deaths recorded are the highest since the COVID-19 was first confirmed in the country. More in this report.
As Zambia continued to record high number of people dying with COVID-19, with the latest being 53, the highest ever, hospitals in Lusaka still have 100% bed occupant space in isolation centers, but struggle with space for corpses as mortuaries are getting filled. And due to negligence in adhering to public health guidelines, Zambia has in the last 24 hours recorded over 3,000 new confirmed cases.
Recorded a total of 3,028 new confirmed COVID-19 cases, and this is out of the 10,882 tests which we conducted. This gives us a positivity rate of 28. Again, should be the highest we've recorded in terms of daily positivity. This therefore brings the cumulative number of confirmed cases Zambia has recorded to date to 133,659. The breakdown of the new cases, including their positivity.
The Ministry of Health has expressed disappointment and concern that despite the high number of deaths recorded, many are not adhering to the COVID-19 guidelines.
When we tell Zambians we are recording so many infections with people with severe disease in our hospitals, let's close the cap, we are hesitating to react. So it's as simple as it is. The mortuary, levy, UTH and other parts stretched. Why? Of course, there are some people dying at home. The body is being taken to the mortuaries. There are others dying in the facilities. But also it depends on how quickly the families are taking the beloved ones who have died for burial. And that's the clarion call we want to make. We directed the local authorities to ensure that at this period, when we are going through a very difficult time with COVID-19, those who have lost the beloved ones, if we can expedite burial.
Meanwhile, the ministry has announced that the Treasurer, in partnership with the World Bank, has mobilized funds to procure 4.4 million doses of Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine expected to be in the country in September 2021.
Today, we take this opportunity, again as government, to commend the World Bank for supporting the COVID-19 response by recruiting through government systems 200 doctors, 46 biomedical scientists, 7 biomedical technicians, 300 nurses, and 20 emergency technicians for the next 3 months, starting 21st June 2021. So the World Bank has provided this human resource so that we can respond to COVID-19 effectively. You may wish to remember.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, MMD, has charged that the party will not risk the lives of the electorates by holding campaign roadshows in the wake of the escalating cases of COVID-19. of the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking in a telephone interview, MMD spokesperson Kefas Mukuka says that the former ruling party is not ashamed to align itself with the health guidelines prescribed by the Ministry of Health and endorsed by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, in the run-up to the August polls. Dr. Mukuka, however, says the party has a well-thought-out campaign strategy to canvass votes amidst the COVID-19 pandemic that has restricted public gatherings and holding of rallies. He says the MMD cannot politic where life is concerned, as the health and well-being of the entire population comes first.
Pandemic has actually escalated, and what we did last year, we mapped up a strategy which we are using, and that is the strategy we are riding on, because we cannot risk the lives of the will-be voters, the lives of people supposed to give us the mandate to govern the country. Because once we do that and they end up dying, then who is going to put us in place? No one is going to do that. This is the more reason that as MMD, we are not even afraid or ashamed to align ourselves to the health guidelines as stipulated and guided by the Ministry of Health, and as equally endorsed and seconded by the ECZ, Electoral Commission of Zambia. That is important, because we cannot politic where life is concerned. I think the health of the well-being of the entire citizens in this country comes number one. Because when people are sick, how are they going to manage to come and vote? So it's better we play to the gallery. And this is what we are doing. So we have a strategy we are using. This is the more reason that as MMG, we actually seconded the pronouncements which came from the ECZ banning the political roadshows, not until the situation improves.
Caritas Zambia Executive Director Eugene Kabilika has advised the youth to ensure that they become change agents wherever they are. He says it is important that youth take part in matters of national importance such as governance. Mr. Kabilika was speaking at a meeting attended by various political party youths aimed at stopping the root of political violence. Meanwhile, immediate past General Secretary for the Council of Churches in Zambia, Reverend Suzanne Matale, has urged the youth to be ambassadors of peace, adding that violence has no value at any given time. She says violence has delayed development in this country.
A million youths sitting in this room right now, because you, as an ambassador of peace, is not going to keep your mouth shut after this meeting. You are going to influence, you're going to speak, you're going to take the message to the over 500,000 youths that are sitting here, because their blood is on your head. If you do not take the peace message that these men of God are going to illustrate to you this morning, you are guilty of an offense of destroying this country. So I am proposing, and I am sure that 280,000 youths are sitting in this room. You are from UNIP, MMD, FF, whatever it was. EFF, yes. Yes. I know that there are so many youths under these wings. And I know that even people from the media are also part of this, because they are going to disseminate this information to hundreds and thousands of young people in this country.
Some dioceses, you discover that they've created what they call peace clubs in schools. And these peace clubs are supposed to be joined by people who are still in school. They have also programs, awareness programs that they carry out in the communities, where they have programs that go beyond just the political programs. They have livelihood programs. So usually the livelihood programs, we also combine the issues of governance that are there. So you find different strengths according to the strength of each of those dioceses. At the national level, we cannot dictate what the diocese does because we strongly believe in the decentralization situation.
The Bank of Zambia Governor Christopher Vunga says increased government borrowing, both domestically and abroad, has been cited as having adverse effects on businesses in Zambia. Speaking during a virtual dissemination workshop of the 2020 survey on foreign private investment and investor perceptions in Zambia, Mr. Vunga adds that the increase in the rate of withholding tax on dividends, interest earned and remittance of branch profits to non-residents have equally been cited as having adverse effects on businesses. The governor says private sector foreign flows into Zambia declined by almost 65% in 2019 from $924.7 in 2018 to $357.1 in 2019. Mr. Vunga says the decline was largely attributed to debt repayments by the mining and quarrying, manufacturing, deposit-taking corporations, as well as information and communication sectors. Meanwhile, the first half of 2020 recorded a net outflow of foreign direct investment of about $250 million compared to net inflows of $412 million recorded in the corresponding period in 2019, and this was largely attributed to the significant increases in losses, mostly in the mining sector. With regard to investor perceptions, market potential, peace and security, political stability, favorable tax regime, good infrastructure and non-fiscal incentives were indicated as the main motivating factors for investing and reinvesting in the economy. We take another set of commercials. Do stay with us as we still have international and sports news. Don't go away.
I was born in Wengwa in a grass-thatched house. I went to school barefoot and then to secondary school. University came, all of these on government bursary, on the sponsorship of the people of Zambia. Many people ask me questions. Why have you continued to seek public office? You've been arrested 15 times. This fight is not about Hakainde. It's about 18 million Zambians who want a better life. I'm standing for the presidency of this country because I know and I believe that this country is so rich and yet its people live in poverty. I am standing for that child to have an opportunity to go to school the way I did myself. It's time for change. Zambians have suffered enough. I'm Hakainde Hichilema. I invite you to take my hand. Together, we will build a better life for every Zambian.
Nkumbula International Airport, located just 15 kilometers from the Victoria Falls, is now one of the best and busiest airports that Zambia has. Vote for Edgar Chagwa Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
In this fast-paced era of industrial boom and population growth, there is need to invest in smart ways of managing electricity and water consumption and reducing utility billing costs associated with the postpaid billing system. At Savenda Electronics, we manufacture right here in Zambia different types of high-quality smart electricity and water meters to customer specifications. Savenda Electronics water and electricity meters help you monitor your usage and gives notifications such as low units, tampering, low battery, and many other features. These easy-to-use meters makes it easier to buy units even in these COVID times and top up just from the comfort of your space. Favorable contract terms are available to both electricity and water utilities. For more details, get in touch with us on the following numbers: 0956 580 349 or 0977 498 318. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Zambia Zambia has embarked on an economic journey for individual financial emancipation, empowering its citizens through land acquisition and developing the nation through agriculture. This time, Zambians are coming together, taking it upon themselves with the help of government to develop this great nation by taking individual responsibility and ownership of this great nation. The economic revolution has started. There are thousands of Zambians with a can-do mindset who are resolute, unstoppable, full of confidence and conviction that Zambia's set time of favor for development is now. Don't be left out. This could be the time you have been waiting for. Camnet Television, in conjunction with the United Agrivision Consultancy Limited, will be hosting a national conference on becoming a millionaire through agriculture. Date 1st October and 2nd October 2021. Charges 750 kwacha per person per day, that includes lunch. A limited number of participants through Zoom have also been reserved. You can also be part of the conference from the comfort of your home by registering online via Zoom, joining the people who were born for greatness. Charges for participation via Zoom are only 300 kwacha per person. Time 0730 hours to 17 hours. Registration and confirmation of attendance will take place on the 29th of September 2021. Time 14 hours to 17 hours. Venue the Healing Word Ministries International, the home of Camnet Television in Apex Hill, Kabulonga Road, Lusaka.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. The World Health Organization is in talks to create the first ever technology transfer hub for COVID-19 vaccines in South Africa, a move that would boost supply to the African continent that desperately in need of doses. The new consortium will include drug makers BioVac and Afrigen Biologics and Vaccines, a network of universities, and the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention. They will develop training facilities for other vaccine makers to make shots that use a genetic code of the spike protein known as mRNA vaccines. And in other international news stories, Africa News reports that Burundi's presidency announced that European Union had lifted its sanctions on Monday after meeting with the EU ambassador to the country. This move, which comes 1 year after President Evariste Ndayishimiye's coming to power, will mean that the Central African country will no longer be subject to Article 96, which suspended financial cooperation between the European Union and Burundi. The sanctions, which also include the blacklisting of several members of the regime, were imposed in 2016 as citizens protested former President Pierre Nkurunziza's candidacy to a third-term mandate. The publication of these sanctions steered in turn a wave of protests against the EU. Here's a roundup of international stories.
The World Health Organization is in talks to create the first ever technology transfer hub for COVID-19 vaccines in South Africa, a move that would boost supply to the African continent that's desperately in need of doses.
Today, I'm delighted to announce that WHO is in discussions with a consortium of companies and institutions to establish a technology transfer hub in South Africa. In time, Afrigen could provide training to other manufacturers in Africa and beyond.
Many hope this initiative will help reduce inequalities when it comes to access to vaccines. Out of the more than 1 billion anti-COVID doses administered globally, less than 1% have been in poor countries. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa congratulated the move.
This is a phenomenal step. We just cannot continue to rely on vaccines that are made outside of Africa because they never come, they never arrive on time, and people continue to die.
President Ramaphosa also added Africa will soon be able to take responsibility for the health of its own people. But it might take months for any new factories to start producing COVID-19 vaccines, and some African countries are already struggling with the recent surge of new contaminations. Burundi's presidency announced the European Union had lifted its sanctions on Monday after meeting with the EU ambassador to the country. This move, which comes 1 year after President Evariste Ndayishimiye's coming to power, will mean the Central African country will no longer be subject to Article 96, which suspended financial cooperation between the European Union and Burundi. The sanctions, which also include the blacklisting of several members of the regime, were imposed in 2016 as citizens protested former President Pierre Nkurunziza's candidacy to a third mandate. The publication of these sanctions stirred in turn a wave of protest against the EU. Despite some rejoicing at the lifting of sanctions, human rights groups had warned of the situation in the country and said dozens of new cases of torture had been documented since the 2020 elections. Congolese Prime Minister Anatole Makosso acknowledged on Monday the financial difficulties his country is facing and promised to reduce the debt that has recently increased. Our financial difficulties, compounded by the health crisis, have increased our debt and reduced our ability to service it. We must therefore do everything possible to make the public debt sustainable. Our debt currently stands at nearly 6 trillion CFA francs as of December 31st, 2020, or 98% of our GDP. Our objective is to bring it down to below the CEMAC community standard, set at 70% of the GDP. This speech by Prime Minister Makosso comes after Chinese President Xi Jinping agreed to a restructuring of Congo's debts. In 2019, China had already done so, which allowed the country to enter an extended credit facility-focused program with the IMF. However, Congo's debt was since assessed at 110% of the gross domestic product, forcing the IMF to consider the country's economy as unsustainable.
We now get into sports news. The Football Association of Zambia, FAS, has provisionally suspended Aden University National Division 1 side KASHIKISHI Warriors following wide-ranging breaches of the FAS disciplinary code and constitution. FAS has also provisionally banned Young Green Eagles Football Club from using Kosa Stadium for their home matches following multiple breaches of the COVID-19 protocols. In a letter to already relegated KASHIKISHI Warriors, FAS General Secretary Adrian Kashala says investigations on the matter had been instituted with a provisional report from the match officials and evidence received warranting an immediate action. Kashala added that in the interim, KASHIKISHI Warriors has been suspended from all football activities. The match involving KASHIKISHI Warriors and Trident FC was abandoned following attacks on referee Joseph Nyirenda, who was taken to the hospital after being left unconscious. Kashala says some of the activities of Nyirenda's assailants border on criminality. Well, that sports item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI urges Zambians to denounce regionalism when voting in honor of KK. Government debt stock negatively affecting business in Zambia, reveals central bank governor. The women's movement mourn Justice Irene Mambilima. And in international news, South Africa in talks to welcome a vaccine technology transfer center. And in sports news, FAS suspends KASHIKISHI Warriors. We now look at the Camnet World Verse of the Day, which is coming from the book of Psalms 91, verse 5 to 6, and it reads: will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. On behalf of the entire news production crew and myself, Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga, thank you so much for watching Camnet TV News on Camnet TV, not just another channel.